Awesome. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time, and we have a ton of groups joining us for the first time today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. I know it is a super odd time to be a teacher right now, a lot of changing schedules, crazy things going on, so we really appreciate you joining us as we continue to celebrate and showcase amazing people and organizations around the globe. So today's presentation is particularly special, even by that standard. We are joined again at the Toronto Zoo, one of our longest lasting digital education partners, and they do such amazing work to conserve and educate people about incredible species across the globe. Today in particular, we are talking about World Zebra Day, and we are going to learn about the newest member of the zoo's team, Poe, the baby zebra there. We're going to learn about zebras in general, and I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ellen. She is an educator, one of the top educators that we work with on this program, to tell us a little bit more about these amazing animals. So Mary Ellen, thank you so much for joining us today, and take us away. Oh, Mary Ellen, your audio is not coming through. It's on, but it's not coming through for some reason. I don't know why. Let's see. We've got that second backup camera. This is the fun of video calls. Something has to go a little iffy. Otherwise, it keeps us all on our toes. It was working mere seconds ago in the test. While you guys are sorting that out with the microphone, and if maybe you want to sign out, sign back in again, that might work. I'll just do a huge welcome to our groups joining in from around the world. We had 130 classrooms registered for this program, so we're expecting 600 plus kids from across the globe. Welcome in the chat. If you're on YouTube, let me know where you're joining from around the world. It's always nice to get to showcase the zoo where all our students are tuning in from. I know live we've got groups in Florida, Ontario, Pennsylvania, and more today, so welcome in to all of you. And I said this before the broadcast, but anyone who wants to check into our entire series with the Toronto Zoo, our YouTube channel at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants has 30 incredible broadcasts of them. Every habitat you can imagine, polar bears, penguins, all sorts of really cool creatures. So it's all there for you guys to check out. And hopefully in a second, we're back in with zebras, because that's what we're all here for today. So I'm going to check back in. They're back. Hello again.
Hello. Can you hear us this time?
Yes, we can, with feeling.
Perfect. Amazing.
Oh, you're muted. Now we can hear you.
We're going to turn our camera around here, so give us one quick second.
Take your time.
We can, focus on our beautiful animals here in front of us.
Nice.
Here we go.
There we go. Perfect. All right. You're good to go.
Perfect. We'll start this program again. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Mary Ellen, and I'm super excited to welcome you to the Toronto Zoo. Now, right now, we are currently closed to the public, but that doesn't mean we've stopped caring for the 5,000 animals who call our zoo their home. Some of those animals are right here behind us. We're going to learn about these guys in just a second. These are our Przewalski or Przewalski horses. But we're going to learn a little bit about our new baby zebra as well, and why he is so important to saving his species. Now, one of the main things that we see here at the zoo is the majority of our animals are endangered species. And I have a little prop here to help demonstrate what that means for us. So there are two different ways that we can help track animals in the wild and their populations. One of them being the red list. So this is an example here of what the species red list looks like. Now, this is a global and international scale that's used to rank species, so animals and plants, and how they're doing in the wild. Now, unfortunately, the Przewalski horses in front of us and our baby zebra are listed as endangered on this list, which means their numbers are not doing so well in the wild. Now, one of the ways that the Toronto Zoo here helps is by participating in species survival plans. So we call those SSPs. I'm going to show you what their logo looks like here. It's a very cute little rhino, and that's because rhinos are also part of SSPs out there in the world. Now, these are mostly found in North America, or the ones we participate in. There's about 500 out there in North America. The Toronto Zoo participates in about 28 of them, from animals like our Komodo dragon, our pygmy hippos. We even have some frogs, our Przewalski horses, and our zebras as well. So we're going to turn it back to Jesse for 1 second to meet the man of the hour here, our baby zebra, Poe. He's our newest member of our family. And I have one of his keepers here. Her name is Kim. and she is going to tell us a little bit more about him. So Jesse, if you could play the video for us.
I sure can. Let me get that up for you guys while you tell us a little bit more about them. How very cool.
Perfect.
Nice. Go for it.
Awesome. So Poe actually is quite young. He is a very new arrival. He came to us on December 1st of 2020. So he is literally only a month, almost 2 months old now. On February 1st, he's going to be 2 months old. He is definitely coming into his own. He is a spunky little boy now, and he's also a very big boy. Now, Poe, when he was born, he weighed about 52 kilograms. That is a very big baby. For those of you who want that converted, that's over 100 pounds being a newborn baby. Could you imagine bringing home a little brother or a little sister who was over 100 pounds already? So in order for Poe to be that big, Tori actually had to hold him in her tummy for over a year. Grévy zebras, their pregnancy can take up to anywhere between 13 to 15 months. So it's a long time cooking there inside of that tummy. But once Poe was out, he got to meet his other herd mates as well, his big sister, Ray, as well as his Aunt Lorianne. And then here at the Toronto Zoo, we also still house his dad, Jake, as well as his big brother, Obi, who's going to be 2 this year as well. Pretty exciting stuff. Now, they are, again, an endangered species. There's around 3,000 of them left in the wild, and we do participate in a species survival plan, like Mary Ellen was saying, in order to make sure that we have a good genetic population in captivities or in zoos, just in case if we ever had to reintroduce them back into the wild, we'd be able to do so with a good, healthy population. Yeah. They look a little bit different from these pea horses behind me. Now, zebras, or Grévy zebras in general, are one of the biggest species of horses. The males can get up to 1,000 pounds, so Poe's got a lot of growing to do. Even though he's a pretty big baby, he's got a big amount of growth that's got to happen in the next couple of years in order for him to overtake his dad, Jake. They're also have one of the biggest ears of all of the horse species, and they're beautiful black and white stripes are really, really striking. They're nice and thick, and they've got a really cute little muzzle as well. And with it being wintertime, they've become quite fuzzy, just like our pea horses. Maybe not so much because they're not quite as hardy. They don't come from quite the same spot in the world, being African animals, but even in our Canadian winters, they do put on a nice winter coat in order for them to stay warm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. And I have to say, Poe is very adorable in person. Those videos that we just watched were just taken of him the other day. Unfortunately, we couldn't be there with him today, but we do have our pea horses here in front of us because we're going to do a little bit comparison on them. So we're going to come in a little bit closer and get a better look at them here. So like we were saying, these are our pea horses, Przewalski horses, or Przewalski horses. There's a few different names that they seem to go by. And they were named after the man who kind of discovered them, and his last name was Przewalski as well. So like we were saying, we are participating in these species survival plans. I like to think of it kind of like a dating service for animals. And we can match up those animals who we think will have the best genetics and be able to produce healthy and strong offspring. So like Kim was saying, if we have to reintroduce them into the wild, then they're actually able to survive. Now, these horses in front of us here have actually made that final step and actually had to be reintroduced into the wild. So the healthy, amazing horses that we're looking at now came from only 12 individuals of their kind just a short 30 or so years ago. So a while ago, their Mongolian horses roamed free in their territory. They're actually known as the last species of wild horse in the world, as they haven't been tamed for riding or anything like that. And unfortunately, due to habitat loss, interest in them and excitement about this wild horse, and also several really cold winters in a row in their native habitat, their numbers dropped drastically in the wild. And when individuals started noticing that, we worked together to try and save these beautiful species. So there were a couple living at zoos across the world, so on a global scale. And it was important to start comparing their genetics as when you only have a small population together, you don't want to have something called inbreeding. So we need to make sure we keep their genetics different and keep introducing new members to their herd. And that's what we did. We worked on a global scale with other zoos around the world to mix and match with our males and females in order to produce healthy offspring. And with those, we were able to reintroduce small herds at a time back into their habitat. Now, it's one thing to be able to help these species in the wild and be able to breed them in captivity for releasing. But unfortunately, if their native habitat isn't ready to accept them, we have to be able to work on that as well. So here at the zoo, not only do we work on breeding the animals here at the zoo for healthy populations, but we work with many organizations around the world to try and make sure that our habitats or the plant species are also conserved as well. These horses are herbivores, so they are grazing, eating hay, grasses, barks, twigs, leaves, all things like that. And if there's too many other domesticated or animals that are part of humans' collections nearby, they can be outcompeted for their food. So we want to make sure they have a healthy habitat to return to. Now, Kim and I have been talking a little bit about animals not doing so well in the wild, but we want to make sure that you know that there's lots that you can do to help these species. So not only do we have the Toronto Zoo working towards together, we are part of several other organizations that help these species in the wild, but just by participating today in this broadcast, you are actually helping to save the pea horses and the baby zebra. You're able to take the knowledge that you learned today about these amazing creatures and with your friends or family, neighbors, anybody you know, and encourage them to learn more about them as well. By spreading the information about them, we're able to spread awareness about them and hopefully connecting people to nature and helps fight conservation. Alrighty, look at these fuzzy horses here in the screen here. Now, Jesse, this would be a great time if we want, since they're all coming up nice and close to us, if anybody has any questions about the pea horses in front of us or about the zebra family here at the zoo, Kim and I would be happy to answer them.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mary Ellen. And yeah, we've got real attention from the horses there. That's awesome. We have 385 people in groups joining in on YouTube between the Zoo's channel and ours. So welcome into all of you guys from around the world. If you do want to share questions in the chat bar, I'll try and take as many as I can alongside those of our live classrooms here. So we're going to start with Miss Barr's class. They're joining us in Claresville, Pennsylvania. Miss Barr, if you want to come on in.
Horses or the zebras?
Hi there.
Hi, sorry, I was telling all my kids about their questions. One of the questions that we have is, how much does a baby zebra weigh?
Cool. So great question. Love it. It totally depends on the individual. So we've had small babies born and we've also had very big babies born. Now, Poe is the biggest baby that we've had born here since I've been working with the Grévy zebras. And we like to say it's because he got a little bit overcooked. He stayed in mum for an extra long amount of time to put on those a few extra pounds. So we were able to weigh him the day after he was born, and he weighed just over 52 kilograms. So that's over 100 pounds. Wow. Now, his big brother, who's now almost 2 years old, Obi, he weighed a little bit less than that. He weighed about between 10 and 15 pounds less than that when he was first born. So yeah, it totally depends on the individual. But again, being one of the biggest wild equine species or horse species, females and males can get anywhere from 700 to 1,000 pounds when they're full grown.
Very cool. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to go to Ms. Berger's class, joining us at York Hill Elementary School here in Ontario. Come on in and go for it.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. My students have so many questions. One of the questions that they ask is, approximately how much grass or hay do zebras eat in a day? So both Poe and an adult.
Great. That's a fabulous question. So, funny story, little Poe, already being a big boy, started eating solids very, very quickly as well. Now, normally, baby zebras would only be nursing from their mum for the first month or so until they start maybe mouthing hay, testing out some of the pellets or cubes that we offer mom, some of the veggies as well. But Poe, right off the bat, within 48 hours was eating hay on his own. So we haven't actually been measuring the amount that he's been getting, but as a group, generally a full-sized Grévy zebra adult would probably eat around 8 to 10 kilograms of hay every day. So Poe's obviously getting a little bit less than that. He just doesn't have the space to store it all, but they can eat quite a bit of hay, and it's generally Timothy hay. We want the lower quality hay, the better, because Grévy zebras can gain weight very, very quickly. So we don't want their hay to get too rich, because they can get sick from something called colic that other horses can experience as well if their hay is too rich. So we do nice straw-like hay for them, and they gobble it right up.
What a cool answer. Never heard anything like that for one of the animals at the zoo before. How neat. All right, let's head to Orchard Park Public School. We are joined there by Ms. De Silva. If you want to come on and demute your microphone, you're good to go and can ask away.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having us. My students would like to know, my grade 3 through 4 students would like to know, how fast can the zebras run?
Awesome question. So Grévy zebras can't actually run as fast as race horses do. However, they are very, very quick. They can go about 60 to 65 kilometers per hour at their top speed, but they can go for distance, and they're really, really good at zigzagging. So they can weave and duck around any predators that might be going after them.
Yeah, cool question, guys. All right, I'm going to head to Baltimore for Miss Shop's class in just a minute, but I want to take a quick question from YouTube from a teacher that I wish I had a teacher named this when I was a student, Mrs. Cheese class. How many babies can a zebra have? A grade 5 class. This is Hannah's question. How many babies can zebras have at a time, guys?
Great question. So usually mums will only have one foal or one baby zebra at a time. There is the potential of them being able to have twins, but that would be a lot more work and a lot tougher to keep both of them safe, especially if there's predators around. So usually it's just one. And because their pregnancy is so long, usually they don't get pregnant again for quite a while. So usually there's about a 2-year gap between babies.
Yeah. Great question, guys. Thank you so much, Miss Cheese. All right, let's go to Baltimore, where Miss Shop and her class, and apparently all of Baltimore is in this program online. So Miss Shop, thank you so much for joining us. And
thanks for having us. We do have one question. We were wondering, what's the average lifespan for a zebra?
Another fabulous question. So just like your domestic horses, these guys can get into their 20s. So we actually have our oldest zebra at the zoo is 22 this year. That's Aunt Lorianne, and she's happy and healthy. So we're hoping that she's going to get into her late 20s, potentially even into her 30s. So fingers crossed, she's doing great.
fingers crossed. That's awesome. Great, guys. All right, let's head to Ms. Vanek's class, joining us in Surrey, BC. Welcome in, guys. And so nice to have kids in a classroom. This is so great. So welcome in and go for it.
Why is just the stomach of the zebra white and no other?
I love it. That's just an adaptation that they have. They're quite different from other zebra species. There's two other types of zebras out there. There's the plain zebra and the mountain zebra, which are cousins of the Grévys. And they actually have their stripes that go all the way around their tummies. So it's just an adaptation, color difference. Yeah, it's just totally different, and it helps us to be able to tell them apart from their cousins.
Fantastic. Well, we're out here in the snow in Toronto, and we're going to go to somewhere where there's never any snow. We're going to go to North Palm Beach, Florida for Mr. Lavogue's class. He's joined by 62nd graders. So Mr. Lavogue, come on in.
That is correct. It is 70 degrees and sunny today. So
yeah.
We were noticing that it's a weather question that we have. We were noticing that the zebra video was from inside, and we see that it's snowing outside. Do the zebras like the cold weather, or is it important to keep them away from the snow? We're curious.
Great question. So obviously, Grévy zebras don't naturally come from such a cold climate. They do come from Africa. However, they are very, very hardy. And because all of our zebras were actually born here in Canada, in zoos, they're quite used to our temperatures. Now, we do have temperature guidelines where we will make sure that zebras have access to a warm house at all times, but they can even go out in -10 temperatures because they develop quite a thick coat and they love running around and playing in the snow. We just have to make sure that we're careful with ice, because with any hoofstock animal, we don't want them to slip and fall. But as long as they've got good grip, they are more than happy to run around and roll around in the snow.
Yeah. Fantastic question, Mr. LeVogue. And it's something that we get with a lot of Toronto Zoo programs. People wonder about the weather. There's such varying weather here in Toronto. And so, Mary Ellen, if we could talk with you for a second, I'd love to talk about AZA or CAZA accreditation and what it means for zoos. If people are going to a zoo, how can they know, based on that sort of designation, that the zoo is doing some really good work and making sure their animals are happy and healthy?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And I always love talking about this. So yeah, Jesse was mentioning 2 different accreditations, the AZA and the CAZA. And those different accreditations show us that we follow guidelines like Kim was talking about weather protocols, how we take care of our animals, and making sure that we are giving them the best possible life that they could have here. It also includes that we have a wonderful wildlife health center and a whole team of staff dedicated, our vets to taking care of the animals, our team of keepers like Kim's, educators like myself and Sean, as well as we have nutrition staff here as well. So all the food that we see, and when Kim was talking about the type of hay we give our animals, even the diet and the meats we give our carnivores, it's all specially designed in-house for them to make sure we're giving them the best food and the best care possible. So when you're supporting an accredited organization like the Toronto Zoo, it means that you are supporting these species in the wild and their rehabilitation as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Mary Ellen. I always love when we get that message out there for zoos and aquariums. So wherever you are joining from around the world today, look for those designations. And again, that's how you can tell that the organization is doing really great work with animals. So check for that wherever you go. All right, I'm going to take a couple questions from YouTube, and then we're going to go back to all our live classes for another round of questions. We've got a question here from Miss Hunter's class at Burford Elementary, and they want to know, how many different kinds of zebra are there? How many subspecies, so to speak?
Cool. So we've got 3. We have the Grévy zebra, which is the biggest, and then we have 2 other smaller species, and they are the plains and the mountain zebra.
Yeah, awesome. Nice to get those rapid fire questions in. Miss Johnston's class, I love the way they phrase this. How can you tell what zebras are saying with their face? Are barking, snorting sounds, braying? Are zebras very expressive? Can you understand what they're trying to tell us, so to speak?
Oh, 100%. They are so sassy. So if a zebra is braying in your face, that could mean that they're overexcited or they want to get playing with their buddies. They will do different facial features if they are upset at you. If they pin their ears back just like a cat or a dog might do, that means that they're not impressed. If they're showing you their teeth, again, that might mean that they're not so happy with you. And they'll snort and stomp. Or if they're just running around, frolicking and acting like total goofs, then you know that they are in a good place.
Very scientific term, the acting like total goof spit. Awesome. Let's head back to Pennsylvania, Ms. Barr's class. If you have a question for us, come on in.
So our next question is, how do you know if zebras get hurt? And is there anything like diseases that zebras can get that, could affect them or cause them to get hurt?
Yeah,
that's a great question. So we do have a vaccination program here at the Toronto Zoo to make sure that all of our zebras stay nice and healthy. And that does include rabies vaccines every single year, because they could potentially come in contact with an animal, a wild animal that might be carrying rabies. If they're hurt, wild animals are very, very good at hiding injuries and illnesses because that's the way they're able to protect themselves in the wild. But we have to make sure that we keep a very, very close eye on our animals and that the keepers are making good notes and have tons of communication with one another to pass along any odd things that we might pick up. For example, if an animal usually eats a certain amount of food and all of a sudden they go off of their diet, you'll probably know that something might be up. If they are usually very social with their herd mates, but they start to become solitary and want space, then that might be another red flag for us that something might be going on. But again, like what Mary Ellen was saying, we have an incredible veterinary staff here at the Toronto Zoo who do a wonderful job of making sure that we take care of all of our animals, and we do a lot of training with our animals to make sure that we reduce any stress with them if they do need to meet a veterinary staff if they have to get an injection, if they need blood drawn. Those are all behaviors that we can actually train for them to want to participate with to help take care of them.
Awesome. And one of the things that's been really cool is over our past Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast, we featured some of that acclimatization training where you have animals in paddocks, where you get them used to getting shot, used to getting those sort of medical treatments. And at the Toronto Zoo, for those classes that are able to actually visit in person in the future, they've got some really cool top-notch areas where you can see behind the scenes and some of the stuff that veterinary team does, learn more about it. So I'd really encourage you guys to do that. It might not be an accessible option right now, but in the future, it's a really, really cool and unique opportunity. So do check that out. All right, let's go to Ms. Berger's class, joining us from one of those classes that could theoretically go in the future. Come on in York Hill Elementary.
Hi, so another question that a few of my students would like to know the answer to is, in their natural habitat, who are their predators and how do they escape their predators?
Great question. So for the Grévy zebra, they would naturally be found in quite arid areas in the African savanna. And their predators would include anything from a hyena, wild dogs, lions even. And their defenses are their speed, being in a great big group, because if you see all those animals with all those stripes, it's tough to be able to single out one individual in order to take down if you were a predator. And also their mean kick. They have a very, very strong kick that could break the skull of a predator who might be trying to grab hold of them.
Yeah. Very, very cool. That was a question asked by numerous teachers on YouTube as well. So if you asked that one and it just got answered, please do share another. That would be great. Let's go back to Mr. Silva's class at Orchard Park. If you have one, just mute that microphone. Come on in. Almost. There
Yeah, my students wanted to know, how related are horses to zebras genetically?
Yeah.
Love it. So they do have common ancestors. However, Grévy zebras are closer related to the wild ass or donkeys. So they have a very funny bray that sounds a lot more similar to a donkey than what a horse whinny would be.
Very, very cool. So glad we got a relatedness question. I always love those. I'm going to take a quick question from YouTube. This is grade 6 and 7, Sophia's group in Vancouver. How do you name the zebras? How do they get all those cool names you told us at the beginning?
I love it. I think with our latest kids, we started a little bit of a Star Wars theme. So we originally had Luke and Leia, which were our first two kiddos that were born way back, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago. And then after that, it just became a little bit of a theme thing. So every single kid that was born after that, we did a contest and we were able to put it out there to the public, and they were able to help us vote on which Star Wars name it was going to be. So it went Luke, Leia, Rey, Obi, and now Poe.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait for Anakin coming sometime soon, and hopefully you guys get more baby zebras in the next few years. Let's head back to Maryland. Miss Shop's class, just mute that microphone, and you are good to go. Can't wait for another question.
Well, we thought Poe might be for Edgar Allan Poe, who was from Baltimore. Okay, well,
sorry.
So we have a two-part question. We were wondering, how do zebras go to sleep, and how many hours do zebras typically sleep at night?
Awesome. Great question. So that totally depends on the individual and how comfortable they are. So in the wild, often Grévy zebras would sleep standing up, because if danger came by, it's a lot quicker to take off if you're already on your feet than having to get up. Youngsters often do lay down, and we do see that a lot with Poe. He can get quite sleepy after playing with Mum for a while, and he'll lay down. Sometimes baby zebras do concern visitors because they'll lay on their sides with their legs straight out, and they don't look so good. But don't worry, that's just the way that they relax on the ground. Mum or their other herd mates are always close by to make sure that they are A-okay. And for adults, if they're very comfortable in their surroundings, especially when you've got a nice warm barn that you're very comfortable in, we have seen quite a few of our adults laying down, and they fold their feet in like a little lamb, and they sleep like that. As for how long, often zebras will be most active at dawn and dusk. So yeah, we actually have a few pea horses who are sleeping standing up in the sunshine over there. So that's a good example of how easy it is for them to pass out on their feet.
Very cool. Sometimes when I fall asleep on the couch, I look pretty awkward, and it's kind of alarming as well. So we feel for Poe and our zebra team there. Let's head back to Ms. Vanek's class joining us in Surrey. If you guys have another question, come on in.
Why do zebras have stripes?
Yes, finally.
Great question. Well, there's a few reasons floating around for that. Grévy zebras do often use their stripes, we think, as a little bit of a safety measure when they are in great big groups and you have a whole bunch of zebras standing side by side. It's tougher for a predator to be able to pick out one individual because it becomes a little bit of a maze in front of your eyes and you can't see the start of one zebra and where the next one ends. Another big reason is for temperature control because dark colors absorb heat, whereas light colors will actually refract it back off. And so it's kind of like built-in air conditioning because the currents of hot and cold will actually run over top of their bodies to create a bit of a cooling system. And then the third reason is for bugs. Bugs have trouble landing on patterns that look a little bit like zebras. So you guys might actually see, if you drive by any horse farms, that a lot of horses will actually be wearing zebra striped coats because it helps to stop bugs from landing and biting them.
I think the next time I go to Algonquin Park, I'm going to wear pinstripes. Very cool. That's very neat, guys. All right, we're going to wrap up with one more question from Mr. Lavogue's class. Come on in and wrap us up. Thanks so much.
I'm going to try to combine a couple questions then. We're interested in this. You know, they're both being classified as endangered, both the horse species and the Grévy zebra species. Is there a ranking of what one is more endangered? Is there like an endangered ranking? Which one of those two animals is the most endangered?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to find where I put my little piece of paper from before of my species red list for us to bring it out. It's in my pocket here. So in fact, it's interesting. We were talking about how many. There's about 2,000 to 3,000 Grévy zebras left in the wild right now. And there's not that many Przewalski horses left, so there's less of them, but they used to be classified as extinct in the wild. So if we look at our red list here, the zebras and the horses are both at this red endangered section right now, but in fact the pea horses came from all the way down here. They were classified as extinct in the wild, and there was only 12 viable horses left to use for breeding for their entire population. So when you take that into consideration, they're kind of a really cool success story about how we work together as a globe and all these accredited organizations together helping out to help save this species and reintroduce them back into the wild. They're both still endangered, and you can find more information on them if you look up species red list. It has all of the plant and animal species that have been classified in the world listed there for you and a bit of information on them as well. But I would say that because they're such a success story, I don't know if it's easy enough to compare just their numbers as they're doing so much better than they were even just 30 short years ago.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm so glad we got that question. And for Mr. Lavogue's class and anyone else who's keen, the IUCN Red List, which I just linked at the bottom of the screen, check that out. You can find out endangered status for all sorts of animals around the globe. So guys, this has been so much fun. What I want to do is make sure that people have the opportunity to learn more about the work that the zoo is doing. So go to torontozoo.com. There's incredible stuff there. And particularly, if you're keen on some great digital education experiences, the torontozoo.com/zoo2you has some incredible stuff that the zoo's been doing over the last few months and more upcoming. And then as a plug for something we're doing at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, the Women Blaze Trails Fest, February 12th through 14th. If you want to hear from more incredible women like we got the chance to hear from today, we are doing 50 programs in 3 days, all in support of the work we're doing to bring more education experiences to classrooms. So check that out, womenblazetrails.com. Lots of cool stuff there. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about zebras with us.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, as you know what we do at the end of every broadcast, I'm going to bring in our teachers, Ms. Barr, Ms. Berger, Ms. De Silva, Ms. Schott, Ms. Vanek's class, and Mr. Lavogue. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.